Good evening, and thank you so much for coming. The Barrie Art Museum opened its doors in the fall of 2018. It houses the personal collection of Dick and Carolyn Barrie. We have biennial rotating exhibitions and many new acquisitions. The museum serves as one of the many cultural icons of Norfolk, Virginia, and sits at the gateway of Old Dominion University. I want to talk to you a little bit first about our collection. We have three primary areas that we collect: paintings, both maritime and American modernist; glass, contemporary glass, and glass from the studio glass movement. We have over 165 pieces that span the arc and the history of the studio glass movement through time. Probably one of the most unique components of the Barrie Art Museum is our incredible collection of historic dolls and automata. Here you can see the guitar playing Troubadour, and on the right you can see Miss Hiroshima. These are just a few of the pieces that span the arc of culture and time, entrepreneurship, and fashion throughout the ages. We have a number of rotating exhibitions. First, we have Rhonda Holybear, artist and storykeeper. This is a contemporary indigenous maker from the Lakota tribe. And this is a solo exhibition that we have on display right now at the Barrie Art Museum. We encourage you to come and check it out. We also have This Will Be for Thousands of Years by Heather Beardsley. She's a Virginia Beach native artist that has done incredible work that archives a lot of the historical and architectural elements of Eastern Europe. In particular, Kyiv, which is an area which is obviously changing very, very drastically at the moment. So it's a timely exhibition. We encourage you to come check it out. And then we have Motion Emotion, exploring affect from automata to robots. This is using our historical automata collection as the basis. And it sort of tracks this through time to be able to see how these were the first underpinnings of modern day robots. We have incredible contemporary robots that span both sort of humanoid looking and into sort of abstract contemporary. And it's a nice tie-in to our Mars exhibit. Our Mars exhibit is opening next week. It goes from October 14th to 16th. It's by contemporary artist Luke Jerram. It's a massive installation of the Red Planet. It's inspired tonight's presentation, actually. As you can see, it's quite large, and we have many partners we're working with, including NASA, Slover Library, Selden Market, to name just a few. And we invite you to come and check it out next week. It is a free festival. We have a number of free public programs at the Barrie Art Museum. The first is that we have tours. These are guided tours every Saturday at 1 p.m. They're completely free. We also have self-guided audio tours. Every Friday, the first Friday of the month, we have something called Unite. It's when we unite the community and the campus. It's a university evening, and the next one is dedicated to the exhibition by Rhonda Holybear. It's Friday, November 11th, happens to be Veterans Day. Join us. And then this evening's lecture. So this evening's virtual lecture is called Mars is an Airbnb, Earth is an Outpost. I'm excited to introduce you now to our featured speaker, Morgan Gendel. He's a screenwriter, producer, and futurist, best known as a writer of the heartbreaking fan favorite of Star Trek, The Next Generation episode, The Inner Light. He also happens to be a professor here at Old Dominion University. This Inner Light particular episode was awarded the Hugo Award for science fiction writing. In addition to writing other episodes of Star Trek, TNG, and Deep Space Nine, he's written and produced 250 episodes of TV for series including CW network hit The 100, on which he served as the co-executive producer, Law & Order, which earned him an Emmy nomination, and the Dresden films, which he's developed for the Sci-Fi Network, and many, many more. Over the course of the presentation, I encourage you to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. At the end, we'll have an opportunity to have a conversation and ask Morgan some questions. Please join me in welcoming Morgan Gendel.
Hello, and thank you, Sharon.
Hello. Absolutely.
Thank you,
We're so
Sharon.
happy to have you here, Morgan. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thanks to all of you out there for tuning in this evening. I'm relatively new to ODU, but I'm super impressed with the university in general and kind of in awe of the sheer imagination of the programs at Barrie Art Museum. I'm glad we got to see a few of those up front. Suspending Mars over campus, that's a pretty amazing idea, and it'll certainly get me to look up from my phone while crossing 43rd Street, which I sometimes forget to do.
Good. Well, we can't wait to see you
regret-
there next week. I'm going to tune off and give it away to you now.
Okay, so it's coming soon. So my only regret is we're not doing this in person. On the other hand, it's great to see so many of you able to attend in this format. I'm going to be talking for a bit this evening, and hopefully if I don't get too long-winded, we'll have 10 minutes or so for some Q&A time. Yeah, I've written or produced a lot of TV, but as you figured out, I'm best known as a writer of science fiction shows. Sci-fi to answer the question that all art asks, what does it mean to be human? Today, I'm narrowing that focus to look at what it means to be not just a human, but also a Martian, as in an Earth human living on Mars. The sci-fi novelist Andy Weir popularized this definition in his terrific book, The Martian, in which, as we remember in the movie version, Matt Damon famously declared himself the first Martian. I'm tweaking that a little to consider the first Martians to be those humans born on Mars. Well, science fiction has been dreaming about a Mars mission for years. Back in 2020, we had, 2010, we had dueling Mars movies, Red Planet, and then Mission to Mars. And then a few years later, 2014 brought us The Last Days on Mars. And of course, that terrific novel by Andy Weir that then became a movie. You know, you can credit movies and TV with being at the heart of a feedback loop, sort of, with reality that has definitely influenced space exploration. Star Trek, the original series, made the name the Enterprise such an indelible brand. Our very first space shuttle was named for it. And then Star Wars revivified the Trek franchise. The fans of that series, which I'm sure includes many of you, kept it alive with conventions. Maybe I've seen one or two of you over the years. And then you have the billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who is an acknowledged Trek geek. So it's no coincidence that he, along with, of course, Elon Musk, have the next planet over squarely in their sights. There's plenty of talk about why we need to go there. You probably know all the reasons given. To me, as a writer, the more interesting question is how colonizing Mars and then the moons of Jupiter and beyond will change what it means to be human. Will there be 2 or 3 different kinds of humans? Will we Earth humans change for the better because what we learn from exploring space? A lot of people who look at humans' track record as stewards of planet Earth certainly hope the answer will be yes. But one thing sci-fi tells us is that being humans does not change. If you watch the new Star Wars series Andor, it's excellent, by the way. The overriding motif here is good guys, bad guys, it doesn't matter. They all have a hierarchy that sucks the soul out of you. Love, hate, greed, envy, gratitude, altruism, fear, longing, hunger, sex, those seem pretty baked into what it means to be Homo sapiens, no matter what's going around us. Technology changes, being human doesn't. I want to give you a very personal example of that. The origin of the inner light, how that idea came to me, is a textbook case of our relationship to technology. I was standing in the bedroom of my toddler daughter. She's now 33, by the way, and she might even be here watching. Shout out to Miranda. So this was in Los Angeles, and I saw up in the sky the Fuji blimp. This was a small dirigible that existed for no other reason than to advertise camera film for the Fuji Film Company. I thought a floating object like a probe drifting high up across my field of vision. trying to influence my behavior, sort of like this, the probe from the inner light, which beamed a lifetime of memories into Captain Picard's brain. Today, thousands of people, maybe millions, go to Paramount Plus and find the inner light. Yet the average person today does not own a standalone camera and probably has never seen camera film. The technology that led us to the Fuji blimp is no more. The examination of human behavior it inspired remains. And by the way, on a personal note, the title, The Inner Light, comes from a song by the Beatles. George Harrison was referencing the Buddhist philosophy that says, be a light unto yourself, be your own inner light. You know what? I didn't know any of that at the time, except the title of the song, because the song was not available in the US on any LP. That's a long playing record album until 1988. But here it is in its original form. This is how it was released. A single, these were called, or a 45, because they spun at 45 revolutions per minute. You can see it's Lady Madonna on the A side and the inner light on the B side. The only reason I have this is because a friend of mine gave it to me a few years ago. Many of us still listen to music from the 60s, even though it has moved from records to 8-tracks to cassettes to CDs to iPods to the cloud. That is why we're going to have technology to get to the moon, then Mars. Yet Earth will continue to be populated by squabbling groups of people who share 99.999% of their DNA with one another and somehow still obsess over their differences. And that is why I'm suggesting we may need Earth to become the outpost of a far-flung species. And in the process, Mars would be the place we go to get away from the Earth. That one's coming in a little late. I know you're talking about sustainability this semester, and that's exactly what's on my mind when I imagine that long-term vacation or permanent residency on Mars. So let's look into our sci-fi crystal ball. Maybe it's even a dilithium crystal ball, and jump ahead to the end of the 21st century. How are things on our Airbnb? Forget that old outpost Earth. What's going on at the new digs? I'm going to look at 4 areas in which our future Martian experience, if handled properly, will turn out better than what we've done on Earth and perhaps influence us for the better. Maybe even right now as we plan for a colony here. So what will we do better on Mars? I'm going to start with the easiest, energy. What? Easiest? Isn't this the sector of industrialized society that is the single biggest contributor to greenhouse gases? Nope. Today's winner for the prize of biggest emitter of greenhouse gases per capita goes to transportation. But still, how could energy be the easiest problem to solve? Well, some things are easier to do at the Airbnb. You have a bigger driveway, maybe a boat dock, a theater, a great restaurant right down the street, a really nice kitchen. And the TV there comes with a subscription to Hulu, things you don't have any reason to need at home. In this case, the thing Mars colony will do easier is fusion power. My friend Chaim Ben-Arroya of Rutgers University believes the moon will become a cost-effective way station to ship stuff to Mars, including helium-3. It turns out this rare isotope of helium lends itself to an even cleaner version of fusion power. In his book, Turning Dust into Gold, Ben-Arroya notes that Apollo 17 astronaut Harrison Schmitt years ago promoted lunar helium-3 as the fuel of the future. For fuel for nuclear fusion reactors, helium-3 was viewed as a limitless source of energy predicated on the engineering of fusion reactors, which would allow energy to be beamed back to Earth. Long before that is probably happening, this fusion power will be perfected on Mars as one possible backbone of their energy distribution. A separate possible Mars energy architecture calls for the whole thing to be decentralized. They don't have a power grid, and maybe they'll never even need one. There's a lot you can do with the money saved, like give every home their own hydrogen fuel cell. We on Earth are already making hydrogen fuel cell cars. And just to put this in the right context, a hydrogen fuel cell is just a form of battery. It takes energy of one kind, in this case electrical, and stores it in another form, chemical, hydrogen, which can be reconverted back to electricity on demand. The trick is to get as much energy out as you put into the storage mechanism. With hydrogen, especially if we want it to be green, we're not quite there, but here's how close we are. The Swedish steelmaker SSAB is replacing the coke that comes from coal in steel production with a hydrogen created from electricity made by windmills, clean all the way down the line, including the fact that the steel in the windmills is now made without fossil fuels, as will be the steel in new Volvos. It costs a lot more, but only until you factor in the environmental costs. I mean, 100 billion estimate to rebuild the parts of Florida and the Carolinas hit by Ian a week ago. The Swedish project opens the possibility of a whole range of fuel cell scenarios. Here on Outpost Earth, we have hurdles in financing and infrastructure, too huge for us to turn quickly to a hydrogen economy, but Mars might perfect that for us. What about housing and shelter? Well, what could be more important at an Airbnb than housing? To start with the obvious, a Mars shelter has to be designed for life support. Air to breathe, scrubbers to take out the CO2, carbon dioxide from the air that we are all emitting has to be taken out because we won't have the plants that do it here. You have to recycle your waste products so you have water for drinking and hygiene. Just as significantly, at the terrestrial Airbnb, we'll be starting from scratch. How can we design a better living space than the one we're used to right here on Earth? So here are a couple of artist concepts of what living might look like on Mars. And you can tell they don't look anything like homes on Earth, nor should they. We won't need peaked roofs at the Airbnb on Mars because there's no precipitation. We don't need second or third floors because those originally came about to make better use of space. We've got nothing but real estate on Mars. We don't need the living room because, I hate to tell you this, you're not going to have that many friends to come over, and you won't need the big open floor plan facing the TV because we're already watching the TV on this. Hey, fun fact. I'm personally involved with the creation of habitation on Mars. I guess you could say I'm part of that feedback loop I mentioned. Because so many aerospace scientists are Star Trek fans, I was able to attract support for a real life habitat design concept. And here is a rough artist illustration of a habitat called habitable, a habitat made from regolith. Regolith being what we think of as dirt or soil when you're not on Earth. It's a plastic bouncy house. You make it on Earth with membranes, hollow spaces that you then fill with dirt and stiffen it to form a sort of concrete. I now hold US patent number 11,199,020, and I'm in business with a commercial firm working to advance the concept, and we should hear any day now from Marshall Space Flight Center, which seems intent on prototyping this. Here's the appeal of habitable. We will need to bring as little stuff as possible from Earth to the moon or Mars because it's too costly to transport it to get out of Earth gravity. If you're building directly from regolith loaded into a framework, the thing is you don't have to stop with the exterior. You can outfit it with most of the structural elements you need using the same approach of loading plastic membranes with dirt. This is from a presentation I had done that's showing just one of these. You can stiffen the regolith inserted in the inside to build cot platforms. You can make tables, chairs, desks, whatever you need. And here's an interesting side note. The habitable concept really originated half a century ago in Puerto Rico. As a kid in 1967, I went with my parents to visit the radio telescope in Arecibo. It was brand new at the time, formed by laying chicken wire over a natural sinkhole. was also the largest radio telescope in the world until China built a bigger one in 2016. And then Arecibo had a bit of a collapse and was decommissioned 2 years ago. So back in 1967, my parents and I stayed 50 miles away from Arecibo in a national park on the beach in Boca Raton. In cabanas, the park rented out for, wait for it, $7 a night. They were built from concrete. 100% of the exterior and interior was laid out in the formwork. That's what you call the boards or shape that hold concrete in place as it is being cured. So the bed frames, the shower stalls, the kitchen table, they were all poured at once when the cement trucks lined up. I couldn't find any photos of that, but here's an example of poured concrete outfitting. You can see floors, walls, ceilings, the kitchen counter. There's another kind of shelf thing there. Believe me, where we stayed for $7 a night wasn't that nice as this. It was nice, but it wasn't as nice as this. But it didn't have this super modern look, but it was totally utilitarian. The shape and style of habitation can directly inform the ability of the inhabitants to function like a community. On Mars, you need protection from the elements, not people. On Earth, part of the appeal of habitable, as I've learned from various refugee organizations I've spoken to about this, is the ability to, shall we say, circle the wagons. This inward-facing paradigm engenders a sense of community and provides security. Will we need security on Mars? How many people will we have there before we have our first crime? Yeah, it's an inevitability. Can we, through a combination of more effective psych evaluations, perhaps even some gene editing, cut down on our instincts that lead us to harm others? It sounds very sci-fi, but I actually heard a NASA consultant suggest that NASA considers using the CRISPR gene editing tool to make smaller astronauts, like 130 centimeters tall, thereby saving space and fuel for the trip to Mars. No joke. Crime prevention is an area where changing what it means to be human will be more easily achieved when a small society like our early Mars communities comes to exist, which brings us to one more issue that Mars must get right for their own sustainability, and that is government. Back on our Airbnb, there will have to be some form of population guidance. If I called it control, we wouldn't think too highly of that. You know, when China implemented their one-child policy for 35 years, nobody thought of them as the good guys. Mars may not have a choice during those early years when, you know, on the one hand, you want to build up your indigenous population, but on the other hand, you need the Airbnb to be sustainable, which we now know, given how things have gone on Earth, must be the guiding principle. And yes, any mention of population control opens up a whole range of highly politicized issues, and that might be exactly the very point we need to consider. A Mars colony may not have the luxury of politicization. Adam Gopnik recently wrote in the New Yorker on the issue of whether there is a better model of government than liberal democracy. So again, I put on my sci-fi cap to think about if Mars could improve upon what we have here. And Gopnik referenced the oft-quoted line from Churchill: democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. Okay, so why settle for the least bad form? Why not strive for utopian society, especially on Mars, where we're starting from scratch? Gopnik concludes that politics by nature is stressful, and the best you can achieve is to prevent that stress from going full on to heart attack. You can't avoid it enough to create utopia. He concludes with this statement: the first cheer for politics is for getting people to act in unison. The second cheer is for getting them to stop acting in unison. A Mars community will have to be aligned and not too fractious, yet not to the extent that too many people walk in lockstep without leaving room for dissent and imaginative forms of organization. Here's what I think we will learn from Mars. When the vast majority of new Martians are immigrants from Earth, they will de facto be people with the wherewithal to make this trip. They will be educated might be too strict a term. They will be informed. They will believe in facts and science, because without science, you don't slip the surly bonds of Earth, as John Gillespie Magee wrote in his poem, High Flight. But as those born on Mars reach their 20s or 30s, that's when you might begin seeing splits in the governing structure. I don't think anyone has the answer as to how to avoid that. But one of the starting points certainly would be a colony made up of a diverse group of people, diverse by race, gender, outlook, and other ways. So to sum up what we hope for from a Mars community, a more advanced, cleaner, and probably decentralized energy infrastructure, housing that is rethought from the ground up, a governing structure that may not offer as many freedoms as we have here, but it will be unified and not overly fractious, and in a way that is still diverse and imaginative. That's how the whole enterprise of exploring Mars and beyond can help humanity right here. We can learn from it. But here's the problem. When we talk about sustainability, yes, we want to sustain the natural availability of resources to help us survive. But as we travel beyond Earth, that cannot be just about our own survival. What are we going to do to the other planets and moons we visit? Remember this little guy, this biped? The planetary bioethicist Connie Burtka told me, you can watch the movie Alien and be very justified in thinking we, the humans, were the bad guy invading this species' turf. It's a fact. We humans have proven ourselves to be a very efficient species killer. How would that play out on other planets? But the alien kind of had a lizard brain, some anger issues. So let's jump in and see what sci-fi has to say about first contact with a sentient, intelligent non-human being. And for that, I think of Arrival. We did not kill these beings or even try to. We established communication. Likewise, in Andy Weir's once again excellent new book, it's called Hail Mary, I urge you to read it. We have a sentient being that looks like a giant clam, talks with music, is great with physics, and has a sense of humor. So in terms of that, these sentient beings, whatever they look like, let me tell you a distinctly non-sci-fi outlook I have in that area, meaning a very real outlook. And that goes directly to the idea of how we might impact other planets, including Mars. I led a panel a few years ago with top scientists addressing the question, what kind of life will we find elsewhere in the universe? I mean, we're looking at a lot of galaxies out there right now using the Webb telescope. This is Stephan's quintet, a group of 5 galaxies that we couldn't see before. We're finding probably millions of exoplanets. And you'd think, and most people do think, sure, some of those are going to have sentient life, intelligent life that we might find. Sorry to tell you, my panel of scientists was pretty much in agreement that there's probably not sentient life out there, at least not that we will find, which means they will not find us either, even though sci-fi very often thinks they will. There's definitely kind of a type. To back up what I said, I'm going to quickly tick off the things that have allowed us to exist here on Earth, the things that make Earth special to foster life that we think we would have to find elsewhere to do the same. We have a sun of just the right stage in its evolution to put out the exact right amount of energy at the exact right distance from Earth to foster liquid water needed for life. Over millions of years, we got an atmosphere that would hold in that heat and maintain the liquid water. What we call global warming is just that process continuing. I'm not denying that anthropomorphic global warming is happening and is bad, but it's something, this greenhouse gas thing holding in heat to the planet Earth is something we needed to exist and to survive. Now we have to see if we've made it go too far. We have a moon that creates tides, which helps generate life in the seas, which is where life began, and it continues to affect our entire food chain. What I just said, We know it's gone too far. I don't want to say we're waiting to see if it's gone too far. We're waiting to see if we can fix it. Anyway, so the moon and creating tides, generating life. Fourth, we have an elliptical orbit for the Earth that gives us the seasons without which we might not have the kind of agriculture needed to feed multi-celled species. And lastly, we have a molten iron core, which generates the magnetic field needed to repel galactic cosmic rays. Unlike that, it's unlikely, that another planet would have all those attributes at the same time as we do. Humans have been on Earth a very short little sliver of Earth's entire lifespan. And when the sun matures and changes, as you know from the Inner Light, which dealt with a community where they knew their sun was going nova, well, I'll let them tell you very quickly.
The rest of us have been gone 1,000 years.
The rest of us have been gone 1,000 years. They knew they were going to die because of what was happening to their sun. It's going to happen to our sun and to any other sun. So you can see, even with millions of exoplanets out there, that limits our chances of being in the right place at the right time. So sentient life, unlikely, but there's one kind of multi-celled life form we are likely to find, maybe even on Mars. But hold that thought a second. I just mentioned galactic cosmic rays. That's one of the most sci-fi sounding things that also happens to be real. I mean, there are no dilithium crystals, just like there's no nucleonic beam, and I won't get into Santa Claus. Galactic cosmic rays are real and they are cancer causing. We're protected here on Earth for the reasons I mentioned, our magnetic field, not so most elsewhere. We walk around here with no idea how dangerous it is out there. For life to be sustainable on Mars, we must mitigate that radiation. If we do, astronaut explorers can remain on the planet longer. And if they stay there longer, we can grow our colony faster. The sooner we get it around to the business of terraforming Mars, that's probably something that's going to happen when we have a community of the right size. That's what many scientists think we will do. And by terraforming, I mean the process of deliberately modifying a planet, changing its atmosphere, temperature, or surface topography. Our presence on Mars, our changing of the atmosphere there by terraforming, could kill off the one species I said a moment ago that we might find there. Nematodes. It's a kind of worm. These can be a millimeter long or microscopic. Biologist John Brack from American University has done studies that indicate that this is a particular form of life that seems to survive all sorts of environmental threats, temperature extremes, scarcity of oxygen or water. They live at the bottom of the ocean, in the desert, and anywhere in between. Will our very presence on Mars bring to extinction a microscopic multi-celled creature that could be the precursor of a future advanced Mars species? Remember what I said about the timeline? We might be off by 1 billion years from whatever advanced beings might thrive there. I'm grateful to report to you that NASA's Committee on Space Research has guidelines that state that any mission designed to look for life on other worlds, including Mars, must not have a probability greater than 1 in 10,000 that a single microbe carried on board will contaminate potential extraterrestrial habitats. And that's a start. If we really are serious about looking at how humans might change the environment of planets, we should start out with the planet we already inhabit. What does science fiction have to say about man-made climate change? The new rage is solar geoengineering. Neal Stephenson, in his new novel, Termination Shock, proposes shooting sulfur dioxide packets into the upper atmosphere from giant cannons. The sulfur particles will reflect back the sun's rays, thereby lowering Earth's albedo, which is a fancy word for its reflectivity. In the TV pilot I have in development, I just heard that producers in Scandinavia want to partner with producers in Canada to make this. It's called Isolation. It's about an Arctic crew working to reverse climate change. Something spreading on the surface of the Arctic Ocean is in fact mirroring back the sun's rays. That's exactly what polar ice has been doing for thousands of years. But now that it's melting, the exposed dark water absorbs the sun's rays, warming it. So it melts even more ice, and you've just started another feedback loop. That's what's happening right now. Solar geoengineering is a way to reverse that, and it's not just science fiction. Here's some of the schemes being considered, both to reflect back sunlight and stop solar energy from being blocked. So for example, clouds, moisture is a greenhouse gas. It just dissipates very quickly. But clouds block the warmth from getting out. Maybe there's a way to dissipate those clouds faster. On the other hand, if you made the top of clouds reflective, it would reflect back the sun's rays. They're talking about space-based methods. This is a thing that we're talking about right now. But Stephenson, in his novel, says we have to weigh that kind of terraform. In his novel, he says that there's a lot of blowback from this kind of scheme. In the novel, this stuff, shooting stuff up in the stratosphere, creates its own problems with the climate, huge flooding in parts of Europe, deserts elsewhere, just everything that we're experiencing now. So there's no real easy magic bullet. We have to weigh that kind of terraforming against the kind we've already done. We've already terraformed Earth. That's what got us into this mess. It's exactly what we do not want to do on Mars. On Earth, to build a modern global civilization capable of feeding, clothing, and housing its people. 8 billion of them right now. We advanced 4 billion, four industries that have very much changed the face of the Earth. And those are steel, cement, plastics, and farming. This is in Václav Smil's book, How the World Really Works. Václav Smil is Bill Gates' favorite author, and now he's one of mine. He has a slight variation on this. He speaks of ammonia production for fertilizer as opposed to farming in general. But basically, those are the 4 pillars of modern civilization. Each of those contributes to climate change, and none of those shows any sign of diminishing. Not when, as I said, 8 billion people are about to become 10 billion in roughly 30 years. Not to mention, there are 3 billion people here right now who are not yet modernized, but will soon want to be, meaning more plastic, more steel, more cement. So we Earthlings definitely have experienced terraforming, changing our atmosphere and global temperature. And that's why we now have 13 hurricanes a year in Florida and the annual fires in California. And hopefully that will inform our sense of caution before we bulldoze literally into the Mars landscape. My final thought for this evening, can we make it a two-way street? What can we learn right now about making Earth more sustainable by envisioning all the ways we will inevitably do so on Mars? What areas can we improve right now by thinking like Martians, our future colonists, 120 million kilometers away? Some practical examples. Transportation, as I said, has edged into the #1 position for biggest greenhouse gas polluting sector. And if you're looking just at transportation, you know what the single worst offender is? SUVs. Why do we buy SUVs? Maybe not you, but your parents or people you know, including even those who are vehemently against the fossil fuel industry. Maybe they have electric SUVs, but statistically, the energy to charge those batteries is coming from fossil fuels. We buy these SUVs even though we know they're bad for the planet. What about food? According to Václav Smil, each and every tomato you buy at the store and eat takes this much petroleum. 1 tomato, this much petroleum. 4 tablespoons of it to get this to your mouth. That applies to all out-of-season plants we seem to demand as consumers, even though years ago, we only ate fruit that was grown locally and in season. Yeah, that's bad. Clothing. It does not have to be disposable. Your clothes all drink heavily from fossil fuels and greenhouse gases to power the combines that harvest cotton, or the machines that spin wool, the nitrogen in the fertilizer, the synthetics in clothing that use petroleum derivatives as feedstocks. There won't be a fashion industry per se on Mars because our colonists will have to put form over function to survive. Fashion will be applied to something like this. This is a body-fitting spacesuit developed by Dava Newman from MIT. It uses memory metal bands to hold in your bodily liquids and gases instead of that pressurized suit we're all used to seeing. So you're going to have one of those specially tailored for you, and that's going to be your fashion for a while until it burns out. Shelter. Hopefully by mid-century, we will be championing not only smarter cities, but better land use and get away from zoning that promotes exclusivity. We all indirectly contribute to how we make and use energy and obtain water and food and shelter. You may not make those things personally, but you shape the way they are made as a consumer and as a free-thinking human. You decide what cars you buy, what food you eat, where and how you live. If we want to go to Mars to learn how to be better humans, maybe even to save humanity, fine. But what makes us think we won't run into the same problems on Mars? So let's start on Earth. Let our behavior today show the way. Let's make this planet the best outpost available and know that no matter how long we stay at the Airbnb, Earth is always here for us. Thank you for listening. I'm going to say one more thing real quick is I'd love to keep the dialogue going. There's my email. I'm happy to hear from anybody. Please write me and we can talk about how to live like a Martian or the inner light or whatever. Thank you so much.
This is great, Morgan. Thank you so much for your time. You bring up so many good questions, and we have a lot of good questions that people have been posing. I'm going to try to ask the ones that are most relevant to what you were just talking about. But this is a good one. Do you have plans to use these packable habitats on Earth at all, perhaps in areas of extreme poverty, packed with earth and soil?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I mentioned the refugee organizations I've already talked to, and I showed an example of how those might be used on Earth. I think there's a much bigger need for them on Earth. What's happened is I came up with the idea originally, just having some NASA friends and seeing some information about the kind of housing they were talking about. And I ran this by scientists who agreed this could be better than bringing too much machinery from Earth. So I've looked to NASA and aerospace to kind of prototype this, but the real market would absolutely be refugees, homeless, disaster relief. And the bar is a little lower here. You don't have to have all that, life sustainability thing, a sealed environment with oxygen we make and water. You don't need any of those things. And a lot of places on Earth that need these have a lot of sand. So the answer is definitely yes. That's something I plan to do. And I'm already working on that.
You know, what occurred to me as you were talking about it is how you said the concrete industry is one of the industries that clearly has the most waste. Yet you're figuring out sort of a different kind of, way of packing and making a concrete. So I think that's interesting that you might have an answer right there in one of the issues.
There is. Let me just comment on that real quickly. There is definitely that aspect to it. One of the first scientists who partnered with me on this brought in the notion of using granular compression. And we actually ran a course at Cornell University where students put beads into like the kind of bag that might hold a mattress. And they shaped it as they were sucking the air out of it, creating a vacuum. So atmospheric pressure granularly compressed all those beads and made it stiff enough so you could stand on it. It was just beads in a bag. So
that's interesting.
Charlotte, you're exactly right. This could be an alternative to concrete if you substitute dirt and leave out the cement part of it.
Interesting. That's fascinating. I have my own questions. I'm going to prioritize other people's, but okay. So this is an easy one. What do you teach at ODU?
I teach screenwriting, TV production, And I'm right now teaching Screenwriting 1. So as a screenwriter, I just started doing workshops on this years ago. Like sometimes I'd be a consultant. I had the opportunity to go to Moscow, and I was kind of a consultant on a series there. And I feel lucky that I went there then, because I don't know when we would even want to go back. But so sometimes I'm a consultant, and sometimes they had me doing workshops. And out of that, I kind of developed a methodology for teaching screenwriting, specifically for TV. And so I teach a lot of courses revolving around that: TV screenwriting, TV production, Screenwriting 1. Oh, and I'm
Awesome.
teaching.
And is that
excuse me,
through the, is that through the
I-
Office of Communications? What department is that?
oh, that's Department of Arts and Theater
Got it.
Communications. Yes. And I just forgot, I'm teaching a new course in the spring. It'll be back to teaching face-to-face. It's genre writing for TV. So that should be fun.
Awesome. Okay, so students take note. All right, what is your favorite fiction or nonfiction book right now?
I'll answer both of those. It's not right now, but when I saw Hilary Mantel passed away recently, her trilogy, starting with Wolf Hall, about Thomas Cromwell, is just an amazing read. It just got human behavior and emotions and history. It's got all those things I mentioned, love, hate, greed, all those things. It's a terrific, it's not a book, it's 3 books, but they're terrific. And because I just thought of her recently, I would say that's my favorite novel right now. It's hard to pick one you like over the other. But in nonfiction, this book by Václav Smel I showed, How the World Really Works, is fabulous. It really puts into perspective everything we talk about global warming. It doesn't suggest it's not real. It does suggest how, without drastic change on our parts, you just can't change the things that contribute it. We can slow it down, but we need other methodologies. That's why I showed solar geoengineering. We need methodologies to actually combat it, not just slow it down. That's a terrific book.
Great. And somebody wrote, can you please repeat your book recommendation? But I think you just did. So we got that. I have to say there's a lot of irony here because there's like a leaf blower going on behind me with a neighbor right now.
There you
Just
go.
like really annoying and also very pertinent to this conversation.
But let me just say one little thing about that. I didn't want to hit this too hard. Look, I come from the TV business, and TV used to be ad supported. So I'm just acutely aware of that relationship there, how advertisements and commercials just kind of do manipulate us. I mean, why do we buy SUVs? It should be just universally decided that they're just bad for the planet, and yet we buy them. So I think we have to give a lot of thought. It's very easy to look at climate change and say, yeah, we got to do something about that. You know what? Yeah, we have to do something about it, each of us as individuals.
Absolutely. I'm at fault for that. I always say my next car is going to be electric, and it's not yet. So it's been
And by the
going on
way,
for too long.
I don't want me to be preachy about it. I just got this from reading the Václav Smil book. Anybody who reads it would come to the same conclusions I have. We're doing all these things that are just bad, and we don't really realize it. We always like to blame other things. It's like, oh, it's like, I don't know what we think is making all the carbon emissions, but it's always somebody else. Read this book and you'll really get a sense of how we need to change.
Wonderful. Okay, so somebody asked, what's the ideal age for someone to go to Mars, especially if it's not a round trip? If it's just a one-way trip, do they have to be non-childbearing? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it depends what you mean by not a round trip. Because of this galactic cosmic rays, the first people we send there are going to just have a timeout. They're going to look at their lifetime dosage of radiation, and when it gets too high, they got to come home. So we're going to have to build up an infrastructure that's more protected, and that's a tough one. So if they're talking later to go live there, that assumes we have a protective infrastructure. I don't know, I think you're going to want to see a lot of people who go there for life. But if you look at the average age of astronauts, they have to be very healthy. They're going to be in their probably, late 20s to early 40s. I think that's the paradigm We've set up, I'm not sure we'll be bringing young people there. I think we're going to give birth to people there. I don't really know the answer to that. I don't see in the near future putting kids or teenagers on the trip to Mars, but 100 years out, yeah, right now, no.
Great. So somebody asked sort of a leading question, but it's just about the psychology that one would have to think about for a long duration trip to Mars. How do you choose people that are going to get along? And you started to talk about that a little bit, but it's a 3-year trip, right? There, just to get there. So do you want to comment at all on, some of the psychological evaluations that might need to take place before somebody travels?
Yeah, I don't know the specific evaluations, but this really hits it on the head. We do have to plan for that. We have to match people up very carefully, but also give them a way to, to have ongoing psychological care. Just testing it out by putting people for a year or so in the Antarctic, I don't think is going to do the same thing. I think people a lot smarter than I will come up with the proper battery of tests and using VR, go in the metaverse in certain situations we can play out a lot of things that are going to happen in close quarters. So yeah, that really hits a good point. We're going to have a lot of testing, and we're going to have to learn a lot more about humans than we seem to know now. We're going to find out on this trip. You always see in movies, people go crazy on the trip. I don't think that's going to happen, but we're going to have a way so those passengers have some constant or consistent psychological care.
Yeah, absolutely. Better help for astronauts. Have you watched yet the Space Force show? It's hysterical. You have to see it if you haven't. Oh my God, it's so funny. It's the same people who did Office Space.
Oh, that sounds great.
And it's amazing. It's really amazing. And there's a whole moment where they go and they try to prepare like they're going to live on Mars and they have to eat potatoes. And anyway, I won't go into it.
I got to watch that. Thank you.
You have to. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, one more. What about the danger of hydrogen to burning? That's a question from Gretchen.
You mean in terms of using it like in fuel cells? And
I think so. I think that's where this is going. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the common thing we all cite is the Hindenburg and how that just blew up because it was filled with hydrogen and not helium. Look, that's one of the reasons I think a lot of scientists are talking about helium-3, which is plentiful on the moon. It's not easier to use. You need a bigger, hotter reactor, but it's cleaner and you avoid the hydrogen problem. But in terms of here on Earth, if you're looking at hydrogen cars or hydrogen fuel cells, they have that under control. What didn't exist when the Hindenburg flew was carbon fibers, different ways, different fiber mechanisms to contain hydrogen, to keep it either under pressure or cooled to stay a liquid. I'm not worried about that. I think hydrogen, if we can continue doing it green, it's going to turn up. I think the infrastructure is hard to get over, as I said, but hydrogen cars make a ton of sense. Battery operated cars do not make a ton of sense in the long run. Where's the electricity coming from? Where are those rare earth metals coming from to make the batteries? I'm in for hydrogen.
Got it. Okay, well, Morgan, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you for your generosity of spirit, for coming out on a beautiful evening and speaking with us. And I'm just so happy that we were able to start off our whole Mars Fest, our first program with you, thinking about how an artist has influenced science or is attempting to influence science and probably will, and how the science has influenced you too. And I just love this conversation. In fact, maybe I'll share with the public that our next Mars Fest is not a Mars Fest at all. It's featuring a group called Newhouse that does these pneumatic structures. And Morgan has started a really fun conversation with them because they make pneumatic structures, and that's what your research is as well. So I just love the idea of the arts being able to kind of get in there with the sciences. And we love that you're doing that. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. And I think it's great that you have a forum for this kind of thing. And when does Mars go up over campus?
Yes, Mars is in orbit October 14th, 15th, and 16th. And
Fabulous.
it's free and open to the public. And actually, I'm going to show a little video right now to get everybody hopefully really excited about the events next week.
Thank
So
you.
thanks again,
everybody for
Morgan. We
listening.
appreciate it. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming this evening. A couple other fun programs we have is Monarch Makes. It's every Saturday. And we can't wait to see you next week at Mars Fest. So let me tell you just a little bit more about Mars Fest. Join us for a voyage to Mars. This fall, the second annual Public Arts Festival at ODU is proud to present Mars, a large-scale sculpture by UK-based artist Luke Jerram. It's going to serve as a meeting point on 43rd Street. It's going to bring the community together. The Red Stage has hourly performances of dance and music and conversations, all exploring the Martian landscape and igniting the imagination of young and old. We hope you'll come and join us. Again, it's free and open to the public, and we'll see you then. Thanks all for coming, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.